good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Ooh, sister, it's been a minute, girl.
It has. It has. On this platform, at least.
On this platform. How are you doing this evening?
I'm a little sleepy, if I'm going to be honest. But I'm excited about the
Honesty.
conversation.
Like the kids, what the kids do? Clock that, girl. That's honesty. I love honesty. Hello, Sister Nicole. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here to see you guys' beautiful face and share some wonderful news with everybody that's listening.
Yeah, well, we are looking forward to it. We are super excited about tonight's episode and the conversation that we're going to have. We got somebody tuning in. Hello, Shalay. How are you? Glad to have you tuning in. If you're watching Hey Sister live with us, we want you to definitely like, follow, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, send them a quick link so that they can jump on, share it on your Facebook page so that they can see it in your feed. We also want you to join the conversation in the comments. That's where the action happens in the comments. And you can also subscribe to our website at heysister.com. Now, don't confuse Hey Sister with Sister, because Hey Sister was a TV show with them twins, girl, and that is not a. Now, we twins, but we don't look the same.
Mhm.
You have to know that. Oh, well, who is visiting us there, Nicole? Look like we got a visitor.
Oh, yes, this is Anubis. He often comes to help as the therapeutic dog, during sessions and things. So he comes to say hello.
Well,
Times.
hello, sir. How are you? Well, we are glad to have you. Well, tonight, folks, we are in for a treat. We're going to be sharing about Nicole's new book, and she's going to tell us more about herself. But in typical Hey Sister fashion, we got to start the night off with some hot topics.
Yes.
Now, we've been going a minute,
And a lot has happened.
and a lot has happened. But also, it's kind of like watching a soap opera. Like a lot has happened, but not a lot has happened at the same time
Yeah,
because
it's
it's the same story.
a whole week for the hour to happen.
Yeah, it's the same story. Like the same story is still happening each and every day. And so I just want to tell y'all, as they told us in 1990 what?
I think it
No
was
money,
four.
no problems.
Yeah. I think 94, but I'll look it up just to be sure.
Look it up to be sure, because I also want you to look up and see when was the OJ trial.
Ooh,
Okay.
that was
I know. Yeah.
I think there's an overlap between the release of that song and the OJ trial. Let me think about timing wise. What
Now
number?
they're saying I can't believe 97. That doesn't feel right. That feels too late to me because I know I did cross in 97, so maybe so because I know this was
Okay.
my
Okay,
short.
well then it's a few years after the OJ trial. But anyway, more money, more problems. And we are talking about, and the reason why I brought up the whole OJ thing, because this is the trial of this decade.
mm,
You know how we talk about there's a trial of the century and a trial of this child. It seems like every decade we have one of these trials where we have because when was R. Kelly's trial?
I mean, he done had a few. I don't know.
Look,
So it looks like OJ was 95.
OJ was 95.
Honeypool Problems came out in 97. R.
Okay.
Kelly trial.
Yeah, when was the R. Kelly trial?
Looks like, wait, no, that can't be. Oh, well, that's true. He had more than one. Looks like 2021.
mm.
Okay. All right. All right. So then Harvey Weinstein is what year in there? That's all. I'm just trying to get to the point of there's so many trials that we just can't keep up with the shenanigans and foolishness. That's why I said it's like a soap opera. It's the same stuff, whole different year, different people, but honey, the stuff is happening. It's like on wash, rinse, repeat. Despicable men doing despicable things, women's lives being marginalized and on a precarious situation. I don't know, but if you didn't catch who we're talking about one Sean Combs and this racketeering trial, and sex trafficking and racketeering trial that he is. I mean, sister, I know the soundtrack of your youth has just been
Just
the
mm,
Devastating.
well, both of
yes.
y'all's youth, both of your
Yeah.
youth.
Mhm.
The soundtrack of your youth has just been demolished and destroyed.
I mean, it has, but I mean, if we're gonna be honest, and
Okay.
I'm not trying to call nobody out, but if we're gonna be honest, Dr. Dre was problematic, and I've listened to
Yeah,
the
he
Chronic
was.
album, so
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
very, very, very problematic there. I think with R. Kelly, the difference, see, like in the immortal words of Suge Knight, if you don't want a producer all up in the videos, come to death row. I feel like there's enough songs that we know are Bad Boy songs, which is heart breaking, but Puffy wouldn't actually in all of the songs, so I can still listen, or I can maybe skip his verse.
Because I mean, it really makes Jodeci complex right now.
Why you say that?
Because they were on Bad Boy too. Mary J. And you know I love What's the 411.
Yeah, I'm never gonna give up Mary J.
Yeah.
And I don't care. But Puffy was in the videos, and now he was on the first one, and she was
He
leaving.
on the album. Hey Mary. Hey
Yeah.
Mary. Come on, we know all of this. Okay, anyway,
Right.
we getting distracted and sidetracked a little bit.
Sorry.
Anyway, I think there's been lots of conversations, and we've had our personal conversations. There's lots of conversation about the testimony. We see more testimony. There's still more testimony to come as they try to weave this story together, to tie it all together, to say that it was a criminal enterprise and that he was, paying for people over state lines, trafficking people over state lines, for sex and what have you. Now, there have been some that have tried to diminish the credibility of Cassie and why did she stay and why did this, or they tried to diminish the stories of any of the other victims, or alleged victims, because he has not been found criminally liable or guilty of any of this at this point. However, what do you think, and why is this so, I guess, consuming for us right now?
So first, I would like Nicole, as the therapist, to give us her thoughts about why victims stay, because I think that people keep talking about that as if, like, one girl was like, y'all won't even ask y'all bosses for a raise, but y'all out here asking why somebody gonna stay in a relationship that's detrimental. Y'all stay at jobs that you hate all the time. So, but can you expound on that before I just give my thoughts on why we're intrigued by this?
Yeah. Well, the cycle of abuse is no joke, and a lot of people don't understand how it goes. And basically, the reason that people stay is because there is something that person gives them that they cannot get anywhere else. So whether it be they're the holder of the money, they're a holder of the power, and these are the reasons that they actually stay, because they can't necessarily get away. Now, if you look at him and you look at the history of him and you look at how many people he's worked with and his reputation, and she was what, 21 at the time when she met him.
I think she was
19.
She was very young, and so she comes and she meets this multi-millionaire mogul, and he is, repping her, and now he's her partner, and so she probably stayed because he had the control. He had control. So a lot of people don't understand that cycle of abuse, that whole thing about why doesn't the person leave? Because the abuser always has something that has a certain hold of the particular individual, whether it be financial. You also have to understand that within the cycle of abuse, there is a lot of breakdown of the psyche. There's a lot of breakdown, emotionally and mentally. And so those individuals feel like they can't leave because who am I going to be without you? You're not going to be anything without me. And so, this actually happens. Actually, I'm working with somebody right now, and his wife is very emotionally, mentally abusive, and he is having a lot of trouble leaving because he believes in his head, he hears the negative things that she says about him, and he actually questions whether these things are true about him, despite the fact that he has family and friends that have countered this and said, no, these things are not true, but he hears her in his head. So it's not as simple to just walk away. It's not as simple to just walk away.
Yeah. And listen, I always think about when the What's Love Got to Do with it first came out. And I remember having conversations because there was like, I mean, Ike was this small guy. Tina was, pretty, muscular and statuesque. And, it just seems like she could have, overpowered him.
Take it down, girl. Take it down.
Right. But and eventually when she got the strength to do it, she absolutely obviously did. But it's interesting because we have seen that. We have seen the stories about, one of the things that I find most disturbing is when they did the Unsung about Tammy Terrell. And they talk about her being hit in the head with a motorcycle helmet, her being physically abused by James Brown as well as David Ruffin, I believe it was. And so it's like you see these women who were seemingly very strong, beautiful, could probably be with anybody they want to. But I think to your point, Nicole, is just there is something being held over them that makes them feel like they do not have the power to walk away and leave. And abusers know that. That's why they play on that. So to the question about why this is capturing our attention, because as you said, I mean, he done had 25 names in our lifetime, but Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Puffy, Brother Love, whatever, he has been a part of the fabric of our upbringing. I mean, again, from Mace to 112 to Notorious B.I.G. to the whole situation with Shine and his relationship with Jennifer Lopez, like all of these years, he has been a part of, if you will, our upbringing in the culture. Yeah. And so it's kind of hard not to at least take some notice to what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, all I know is this, like I said, it's the trial, I guess, of this decade, and maybe not, because we've had R. Kelly trial in this decade, we've had Harvey Weinstein's trial, we've had the current White House residence trial, we've had all of these trials, and there is one continuing theme and thread of despicable men doing despicable things. Because not Harvey Weinstein, but what was that man? The Epstein man? Jeffrey Epstein. Despicable men doing despicable things, and to people who or whether they find themselves groomed or coached or worked over, because it is a psychological takeover. And it doesn't happen overnight. It is slow. It is deliberate. It is intentional. And we know that the best way to get out of this was, maybe Sean should have ran for president. Because that's the only reason why this other 34 count felon is not having had some trials. And did you see Ty Chrisley?
Yes, I saw that.
I didn't. What'd he do?
Well, that Donald Trump has pardoned.
Yeah, I know he pardoned him, but
he got on talking about the inequality in prisons. I mean, how he was treated differently from African Americans and other people of color in prison, stuff that we already know. But he brought it to light. I air quote that because I'm like, we already know these things, but now what? Now what, Todd? What you gonna do with that? That's the question. You see
now what, Todd, since you're going to be returning back to television with that platform, because their show is coming back.
Of course.
Now, so who's going to watch? That's one question. Because I didn't watch the first time. And but those who will watch, what will you do with that platform? Are you going to go back into those same prisons and add programming that you said that young African Americans are denied, or resources that they're denied? He still maintains that they were wrongly convicted, but we know many of a person who not even black or brown have been wrongly convicted. So it's just very as they try to erase the impacts of of systemic racism, systemic inequality, systemic inequity, as they try to erase the impacts of it with policy upheavals. It was just very interesting to see that was one of the first things that he said.
All right, y'all. Anyway, let's talk about this book. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So, Nicole, we know your name, Nicole Perkins. We know you're one of our homegirls, but why don't you tell the people a little bit about your story, who you are, what you do every day, and then what brought you to creating Calm Within?
Okay. Yes, I'm Nicole Perkins. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been doing this work for over 20 years. And throughout the time, I've had the opportunity to work with a wide range of people from different backgrounds, different challenges. And it's taught me so much about resilience, healing, and what it really means to support someone through tough seasons. And so I love what I do, and I'm very passionate about helping people feel seen, supported, and empowered to create real change in their lives. And so one of the reasons that I created the journal was just kind of after years of sitting with clients who were overwhelmed by anxiety and often asked, what can I do in between sessions? I realized so many people were looking for something simple, practical, and calming they could actually use on their own, especially in those anxious moments when support isn't necessarily immediately available. So I wanted to put real proven tools in their hands in a way that felt accessible and supportive. And that's where I got the idea of the journal. In healing, something that you could carry with you. So it's not just a regular journal, because if you actually look at most journals, they're just kind of empty. This particular journal is a guided journal. And what I do is actually teach different coping skills for individuals to use. And then I actually provide space for them to practice those skills. So it's not just blank pages. Let me talk about my anxiety. I guide you with coping skills to help reduce anxiety.
Okay. Well, I know Christina was going to unbox her.
Yes.
So you all can see, and we're going to run the website here. So if you want to order you a copy of Calm Within, Journaling Your Way from Anxiety to Peace, you can get your copy here. I did get the website right? Is that correct?
Yes.
No. All right. Let's unbox it, sister.
Okay, so first of all, let us thank the Postal Service for nicking my box. But as you can see, my sis was deliberate about giving us a nice box here, not something shabby. But I blame the Postal Service, as I said. Okay, here we go. Opening it up. Now, because my girl ain't gonna just do it like everybody, y'all do it. So again, I'm very upset about them nicking my box, but she has these words here for you on the inside of the box. And it says, welcome to your healing journey. Congratulations on taking this brave step toward managing and reducing your anxiety. This journal is a powerful tool for personal growth, reflection, and self-discovery. By putting pen to paper, you're giving yourself the gift of clarity, emotional release, and insight. And it goes on. But I think this is such a beautiful way to start having this conversation about journaling your way from anxiety to peace. And then again, because how we do things to excellence, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this lovely outer covering here. Put that down. And I love the paper because it says stuff like, I am worthy of feeling safe, secure, and stable. I let go of what I cannot control. Hey, I refuse to believe the negative story told by my anxiety. So I think this is awesome to see that there's messaging, words of inspiration printed right on the outer cover. And of course, she has this nice sticker here. If we can get a close up on that, from Things My Therapist Says, which is the publishing company. And then we slide that out. And now we have our beautiful journal. Sorry about the glare. Calm Within, journaling your way from anxiety to peace. And I'm just really excited about this journal. I've been waiting to unbox it for a while now, but I'm really excited about this journal because I think that whether we've been clinically diagnosed with anxiety or not, I think most of us understand what it means to feel anxious. And, you know, I think that as I've gotten older, I've recognized that I have greater levels of anxiety about certain things. So it's a hardbound, hardcover book. It has a nice bookmark here. Oh wait, I thought it had a bookmark. Yes, here it is. Let me get to it. Yes, so it has a bookmark here, and as you can see, this is some of the exercises that she was alluding to, right? Where it says daily affirmation, trigger situation, physical symptoms, thoughts, beliefs, and cognitive distortions, and then emotions experienced, and then the coping strategy used. So this is beautiful, Nicole. This is really excellently done. And yeah, and then she even gives you examples, right? Like here's a sample journal entry for you. Right. So if you don't know what to say or how to fill this out, she gives you an example so you know exactly how to do this.
And I think that's beautiful. Let's give a round of applause. Yes. Bravo. And so, you know, tell us a little bit more about why so much attention to detail, right? Because often you do receive a journal and it is just blank pages, or it's you know, you might have a prompt or not, right? But why such attention to those details? And even as she said, an example, because a lot of people don't journal because they feel like, well, I don't really know how to start. Like I want to, but I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, another reason why, well, as my friends know me, they know why I'm a little bit meticulous and I'm very just attention to detail person in general. But for this particular book, I was thinking also about those individuals that may be averse to therapy. Okay. Or they may, or maybe their parents may be averse to them going to therapy, or they may not have access to therapy. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to put everything that a person needs in the journal and how to use it. So I did not want to overwhelm individuals just, you know, therapeutic jargon. I wanted to make sure that I defined it in a way that it could be understood and then used very practically. So I did want to give an example of how to actually use the journal, because like I said, a lot of people will say, well, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to put. I don't know what to do. And so this kind of definitely gives you a guide as to how to do it, because I want people to actually be able to pick it up and say, I'm using this in conjunction with my therapy. I'm using this as my therapy. I'm using this, you know, to help me with just different aspects of anxiety that they may have, and also just understanding it. And I also put in the book at the end when to seek treatment. So, you know, there's also a section that talks about when do you need to actually seek help. So if people have a question about that, that's actually answered in the book as well as what anxiety is, how it manifests itself, the causes and treatment. So I actually give a well-rounded definition of anxiety, so that people can have a better understanding. And then
can we pick up on that thread right there? Because, you know, mental health, we just wrapped up Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's PTSD Awareness Month, and it's also Pride Month. Like, we got a month for everything, but people are still walking around here blind.
Yes.
So I want you, if you could, and I know you have a full definition there, you know, mental health is this big wide spectrum, right? So anything from anxiety to grief to depression, to bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. Like it's this big, long spectrum. And I think we've come better to understand like their autism, there's a spectrum,
Yes.
right? But now we're trying to really get our hands around, okay, so this mental health spectrum, like, because all of us have a brain. So if we all have a brain, we're going to deal with something that has to do with that brain, just like we all have a body. So we got to deal with this body.
Right.
How do we get people to grapple with even understanding, hey, this is anxiety. This is how it manifests. These are, I mean, like just breaking that down.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we look at mental health, like you said, mental health is definitely refers to a person's overall emotional, psychological, and their social well-being. So everybody has mental health, but not everybody has a mental illness. Okay. And so when it comes to when it comes to mental illness, all right, there are aspects of it that a person has to meet in order, criteria a person has to meet in order to meet the particular diagnosis. So when we look at anxiety, everybody has anxiety. Like for example, if you are going on a job, okay, a job interview, most of the time people have anxiety about that. They're anxious about that. Okay. So there's a difference between individual anxiety and that kind of overall anxiety. So we all get anxious on that first day. We all get anxious when we're going, for that job interview. We all get anxious when we have to have some type of, speech in front of a lot of people. It becomes problematic when it starts to interfere with your life, when it interferes with your functioning, when I can't actually leave out of my house because I don't want to be around people, that's when it becomes problematic. So just understanding that even depression, people are anxious about that, but we're all depressed at some point in our lives. Okay. Have a breakup. You're going to be depressed. Okay. A death, grief, there's going to be depression. It becomes problematic when it starts to interfere with your everyday functioning. So there lies the difference between just the overall, we all kind of experience these things. And this is something I need to attend to because it's interfering with my daily functioning. Okay. So that's where we need to kind of get the definition and the difference in it, So it's very normal. It's very normal. So if anybody says I don't struggle with anxiety, okay, all right. You ever been pulled over by the police? Yeah. That's anxiety you feel.
I mean, but even things that we consider positive can be anxiety inducing. Your first date,
yes,
or or
about to get married.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're wedding. Yeah.
You got a promotion on your job and now you have to lead people and you got more responsibilities. Even things that are positive, and that's the thing that I want. That's one of the real things I want people like everything. Like we have this emotion, and we were talking about the feeling wheel and emotion wheel earlier offline, and we'll drop it in the chat so y'all can take a look at it. Like it's not always bad stuff. So, we are emotional beings. We have a brain that creates emotions, create these feelings that then create these thoughts that then create these patterns of behavior. And from whatever you're being fed from external sources, outside influences, or whatever, it can program that way of thinking, and it can make that way of thinking to become problematic.
Right.
Because even a outside positive opinion of yourself can be narcissistic behavior. It's a problem.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where it comes, and that's where the criteria comes into play. Are you meeting all the criteria for this in order to meet the formal diagnosis of it? And so that's where that comes into play. But yeah, there are aspects of all of these things that we have. There are a lot of men out there who definitely, and women, okay, that have definitely narcissistic tendencies. And if we actually try to say, okay, well, how do we, diagnose this? How do we fix this problem? It really is a personal thing. One thing about mental health is that we have to realize that we have to work on that. We have to work on those problems. And and not be ashamed to work on those things. That's where another part comes in, that shame. And I'm gonna have to say that in my practice, I'm so happy that there are more, brown people, black and brown people coming in and saying, hey, I want to work on this. I want to work on that. And want to work on anger, want to work on anxiety, wanting, coming in before they get married and saying, wanting us to head off any problems that we may have. So I'm very happy to see that we are actually saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with this. Let me engage in this so that I can be a better person and have a better mental health, in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Mental health. I know people are moving towards terms like mental fitness or mental resilience.
Right.
What are your thoughts about kind of the shifting and sister, please jump in and ask a question. I know, because this is very topic.
What you going? So I'm trying not to interrupt. So continue.
But we're trying to shift this terminology so people can have continuing to break down the whether it's stigma or shame,
right
associated with but it's like, if you exercise or if you eat well,
mm-hmm.
to take care of your physical body, your brain is a part of that too. And whatever you want to call it don't matter to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that these other words are coming into play, because I mean, if you look at the history of the word mental health, it doesn't have a very good rap at all,
mm-hmm.
Whatsoever. Nobody's out there, my mental health. Well, what you mean mental health? You all right? What's going on? You need, people start asking questions. So it's good that they're trying to, normalize it and make it something that is a part of your well-being. Because even in my work, I say, okay, let's go through. Okay, you're working on your mental health here, you're working on your physical, you're working on your spiritual, you're working on your, we're talking about the entire being, mm-hmm. and your brain is a part of that. And the brain is a very complex and wonderful thing that can definitely lead you in the right direction, and it can also lead you in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so making sure that you understand your brain, why things are happening, and why you are acting or behaving in the way that you're behaving, just kind of helps you just be all around a better person and just move in a better place in your own life, in a way in your own life.
Okay. All right. Christina?
Well, before I jump in, I'm going to say a little bit more about this book, because I think I am so impressed with how you've laid this out. So she has some what to expect mm-hmm. here, and then some tips for using this journal. So the tips: be consistent, mm-hmm. be honest and open, explore at your own pace, and be patient. And I think that's beautiful that she was laying that out from the very start. Like she mentioned, that she has a definition, and sister, we love a good definition.
Love a good definition.
Level set, so that everybody is aware of what we're talking about. So it's so many tools that are like, there's so much good information that's presented at the beginning. So Nicole, what was your process? How long did it take you to come to this?
Mm-hmm.
And what was your process in development?
Let me go on and order mine right now while y'all talk. I'm gonna let y'all talk. I'm gonna go on
order yours. But what was your process in get? Because again, you've got so much in the beginning.
Yeah,
just lay it out to it. Like, it's like, baby, set it and forget it. You can't, if you get this wrong. No, I know there's no right or wrong. I know there's no right or wrong. I'm just playing. Yeah. But you put so much good information at the beginning. So what was your process for writing this?
Well, I was thinking about, okay, who's going to use this book? Okay. And how will they use it? And I wanted it to be used from individuals, from teenagers, okay, to adulthood. And so I wanted to make sure that everyone was guided through this entire process and given tools that's needed. So understanding even what anxiety is, okay, how it looks, how it manifests itself. Because if you ask that question, when people say, well, what do you mean? What does it look like in your body? What happens when you become anxious? Do you become flushed? Do your hands get hot? Do you get hot? What happens? But having that understanding of anxiety helps you manage it. So I wanted to give the tools so that people could actually understand themselves. And also, goal setting, that's another goal setting, because when you look at your mental health and what you are wanting to do, you want to have goals. because we can easily become very, very overwhelmed. So if you say, hey, I want to be less anxious when I am doing presentations. Okay, that's the goal. Okay, what does that look like? How do we break that down? So I wanted to make sure that if somebody had that as their goal, or anybody had any goals, that they would be able to go to this book and say, oh my gosh, there's some goal setting in here, how to set goals. So I tell you how to do everything, because I wanted to make sure that you could pick up this book and everything that you needed is in it. In order from front to back, you could read it from front to back and understand, and not have to go to anybody's dictionary, that it's well contained. And I also wanted to make sure that I put the bookmarks in here so that you could hold your place, and make sure that you can come back to those places that you need. Chrissy was talking about the cognitive distortions. Okay, so those basically are negative ways of thinking that interfere with our behavior, with our lives. We all have negative distortions. So we have all said, I'm never going to do such and such again, all such and such as this, but it becomes problematic when it would actually interferes with our life. So I wanted to be able to define what cognitive distortions are so that people could have an understanding. Because I know definitely for sure, one thing about anxiety, if you understand your anxiety, you will be able to manage it, period. You will be able to manage it. And so I just wanted to make sure that I did that. Now, how long? I worked on it tirelessly, just kept going back and back and back. And should I add this and should I take this away? But and it's interesting because as I was writing, more stuff was coming to me. So how long? The thing about it, it took more time to kind of set it up because the material in here I already know. And so I already know how it works. And so that part didn't take much, but kind of the setup of it kind of took a while as far as like what goes where and how to do it. But I just wanted to make sure that if you pick this book up, that you would actually be able to understand anxiety, understand yourself, and actually be able to manage, your anxiety in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Yeah.
And I found that, so again, we had our conversation last week for the alumni weekend. And, I think the initial goal was to see how do we help parents have certain very critical conversations with their children, teachers with students, again, adults with younger people. But what we found was there were actually a lot of adults who had questions themselves, right? So like, how do you, how can this be used as a conversation piece between parents and their kids? Because it seems like it's just hard to start these conversations about mental health. And like we mentioned, we know that in order to build muscle on our body, we have to eat a certain way. We have to go to the gym. These things have to happen. But yet when it comes to our mind, we don't think about building that muscle. Like we don't think about building that level of strength. So how can this be used as a conversation piece?
So, well, one thing that I always tell parents, okay, is to ask questions. Ask questions. Okay, you definitely ask questions. And this could definitely be a conversation piece because it can, a parent can say, okay, listen, you said that you were uncomfortable, that you don't know what's going on. I found this book, perhaps it'll be helpful. Let's read it together. All right. Help me understand. I see that it's talking about anxiety. What is anxiety? What is the definition of it? Do you identify with that? So it also can give the parent a roadmap to kind of help their child if they're struggling with anxiety or with anything that feels uncomfortable, because a lot of times kids may not have the language. And so we have to give them the language. So this will also help parents give them the language, because if you look up, what is anxiety and the symptoms, if their child is saying, well, every time before I, take my test, I get really, really angry. I have to use the bathroom. I feel very uncomfortable. I feel very hot. They could go in here and look at the physiological symptoms of anxiety and say, oh, okay, that's a symptom that you're having. Let's look and see how we can kind of help with that. Can we do some grounding techniques? So this can, as far as parents, you can actually use this with your child. Okay. You can give it to them. If you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah,
to you, because I don't know, especially if you have teenagers, because teenagers don't want you to be bothered with you. Unless they want something from you. So this book is a good way to say, well, I know you're having some trouble. Here you go. Let me know if you need some help. Let's look at it. But it starts the conversation. It can start the conversation for parents.
And if they do have a therapist, then I think it would be something great that they could bring to therapy and share with their therapist. Okay, go back, sister. Back to you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I love that. When my kids were younger, and so I don't know if you have a certain age range you would want to like target. Like, I don't know if 7, 8, 9-year-olds, this is a good exercise to use, because I remember with my kids, if they wanted to see a Harry Potter movie, well, we had to read the book first. Right. So could we sit down with this book together and say, okay, let's talk about your day. What did you learn today? What did you feel today? Because I don't want to always equate it when you're trouble or having trouble. Like, how could we integrate this even into our daily interactions?
Yeah. So in general, if a parent can definitely, I would say a 7-year-old could definitely use it if their parent was guiding them with it. And so it could really be used. It would have to be a guiding tool. They'll be pretty young to do it on their own, but with their parents' help, they could definitely be guided with it, used to guide it. But I'm sorry, the question escaped me.
Well, I was just thinking, like, so if you're someone who is like a tween, so would you still guide, or if they're like, okay, they're definitely high school, they can give it to them on their own? Like, I'm just trying to see how do we work to integrate it into our life?
Yeah, so I would definitely, I would definitely give it to a teenager. I would definitely give it to a teenager for them to use, because it would be easy for them to kind of look at it and guide and be guided through it. Anyone younger than that, I would definitely have the parent kind of be more guiding them with it. Okay. So what I would do is I'd say, okay, let's read this together. If at any point in time you feel like you can do it on your own, let me know. If you want to read it on your own, you have questions, you can come and ask me questions. I have the book too. I'm going to go through it myself. I'm going to do this myself. A lot of kids, if you actually do things with them, they're more prone to do it, because, what do they say? Don't do what I say, not what I do. But now you really do need to show your child that it's okay. I have this book too. You have it. We're looking at it together, and it's okay for us to go through it together. So, but being able to guide them through it is a very important thing. One thing that parents have to understand is you just have to talk to your kids. You really do. Even if they don't want to talk to you, you have to learn how to talk to them. Okay. Because if you learn how to talk to them, they will talk to you. Yeah. But if not, then it'll be very difficult. But anyway, but using this in conjunction with, they can do with therapy, or sometimes I have parents that say, I don't want my kids to go to therapy at all. This is something that they could pick up and definitely, use it as a therapist would, and still they'll be getting therapy at home, basically, self-guided.
We got a question here. What recommendations can you give to motivate journaling when you already feel defeated?
So when you already feel defeated, normally what I tell people is to write about that. Write about that. So a lot of people think when you journal, they have to go at a purpose, and you don't. You can go at a journal, be like, I'm journaling. I have no idea what I'm journaling about. I don't even know why I'm journaling. And I call it free write. And you just free write, and things will come out. Even in your free write, things will come out. Okay. So if you're feeling defeated, just start writing about that. I'm feeling really defeated about journaling. I don't know why I feel defeated about you. Who knows? Maybe some self-esteem issues may come from that. Who knows? You may recognize that there's this underlying anger there. So when you just feel, if you just start writing about whatever is in your mind, it doesn't have to be something that is very specific. And that's why I also give an area in here for reflection. So for example, if you've already done the journal entry part where you've answered the questions about the triggers, also give a part for reflections and insights. That's where you free write about whatever you want. Okay, that's that free writing in there. Drawing is another thing. That's another people I tell people to do. If you run out about, if you're feeling defeated, draw. Another one that you can do is do a voice memo. Sometimes you get tired of just physically writing. You can do a voice memo, or you could actually open a Word document and it goes dictated. So just you start talking about whatever it is, even if you're frustrated and don't know what's right. Start talking about that. I'm frustrated and I don't know what's right. My therapist wants me to do this. I don't know why they want me to do this. I don't know why I'm in there. And it will flow. It will flow out. Yeah.
And I would say this, again, with this particular journal, because it's different from many of the journals that I have. Most of them are just lined paper, right? And lined paper is great for me because I don't have a problem with writing. I know that I used to feel defeated because I didn't journal every single day. And for people who do that every day, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I just admire that so much. And it's like there's no right or wrong to journaling. If you do it today, sometimes I look at some of my journals, it's so funny because I'll look at 1 year and then it'd be like 3 years later, I'd jump back in. And I'm like, man, I really would have liked to know what was happening in those 2-3 years. But
I got one right here that I've been noodling on since, because it's just lined paper. So let me go. Oh, look, my last entry in here. And this is funny because I have the last entry in here was 2008, but then I got this other one over here.
Right.
And then I got another one in the room back there. So I just have stuff written all over the place. So hopefully one day my children will be able to pull it all together and realize that I had some thoughts.
Yeah, but what I really like here is that she has coping strategies, and she talks about what coping strategies are. And like, this is just really, really, like, I think that to the question, even if you were like, I don't know what I want to write about, if you were just reading this, there would be things like challenging thoughts. Thought challenging is a cognitive behavioral technique used to identify, evaluate, and change negative or irrational thoughts. It's a key component of cognitive behavioral therapy and is used to help people manage and reduce anxiety. So how thought challenging works, an example of thought reframing. So a negative thought, I failed at my presentation, so I'm a terrible public speaker. A reframed thought, this presentation didn't go as planned, but I can learn from it and improve my skills for the next time. Like, to me, there's just so many things that even if you weren't physically writing, you still could take a lot of things from this that would be very, very helpful. So I really like how this is, really like how it's laid out. Kudos to you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess you said I have been doing this for 20 years. So,
well, listen, the thing, you could be doing something for 20 years and have to kind of organize it in your mind. How do I get it out of here and to where people can understand it, and actually digest it and feel good about it. And that's where that's where the work is. Like, how do I do that? Yeah.
Now, if I buy a lot of these and just start sending them to people, do you think they're going to get the wrong impression?
What do you mean? Like you're telling somebody something wrong with you, you need some help?
If I just start buying them and sending them to people.
Like you buy it and the shipping address is not your address, is what you're saying?
Right. I just start shipping it to people. What do you think they'd get? Because I
actually have someone who did that. So my aunt who actually edited it, she actually bought some and sent them to people. And actually one person actually just ordered some. She received it and ordered some for herself. So I really think that if a person is open and understanding, that they'll just be like, oh wow, this is great. I need some calm in my life. I need to journal my way to peace, as opposed to becoming, a little bit defensive about what you think. You think something wrong with me? They got a problem. So it depends on the person, but
obviously Christina has somebody in mind. You want to tell us something, girl?
Well, I'm just thinking that, obviously, so I like to support my friends.
Yeah,
that's period. And so my friend happened to write a journal called Calm Within, Journaling from Anxiety to Peace. If I send it to you, it's probably because I'm trying to support my friend. It's not necessarily because I'm trying to say anything about you, but I wouldn't want people to get that impression. I just want folks to know, like, this is me supporting my friend. And oh, by the way, I just think it happens to be a great tool.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So
That's very nice of you, sister.
Yeah.
I do have people in my brain, but I love how it talks about journaling your way from anxiety to peace. So what if what I'm experiencing feeling is not anxiety?
Mhm.
Can I still use this to get to peace?
Yes, because I also, if you're not having anxiety, I also there's stress management tips in there. Okay. There's
And
my,
everybody got stressed. Come on,
yeah,
can't none of y'all say, "Oh, I've never been stressed." When I hear somebody say, "Oh, I've never stressed," stop the lies. You got a brain. You got a cortisol belly. I'm looking at right now because you're so stressed.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I do progressive muscle relaxation, so then there's mindfulness, there's grounding techniques, stress management. So you can definitely use it. It's all about, I don't have that one, but I do have some in there, to help. But yeah, I mean, it's listen, if you come home, from a hard day and you're just feeling wound up, I always ask my class, I'm like, so tell me what you do to de-stress when you get home. What do you do to get work off you when you get home? Even if you work from home, what do you do to transition from that into your regular life? Right. Sorry, that's my dog. To transition into regular life. So there's stuff that you can use in here to do all of those things, so yeah.
So is this something that should be read front to back or jump around, or what do you say?
I would suggest that you read up to the coping strategies, in chronological order, because it's going to kind of set everything up for you. And then thereafter, you can definitely say, you know what, I really want to do breathing and grounding. You can definitely jump to breathing and grounding. Okay. So you can, if you don't want to start with thought challenging, then you can go, I want to start with stress management. You can definitely start with stress management and go to that chapter, because each chapter is independent. It doesn't build on the previous chapter because each skill is independent. So one skill doesn't necessarily fall into the next skill. So you can definitely jump around. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I just wrapped up we're doing and y'all had Dr. Alana is a friend of the show. She's been on before. And one of the things, one of her monikers is just she's the skills over pills doc. Mm-hmm. I am a believer. Yes, there's a place for pills, as we were talking about in the pre-show. But I love that you have this book filled with so many skills. Mm-hmm. Like, so when you think about your tool belt, mm-hmm. What's your go-to tool? Like the first thing you pull out of your personal tool belt when you're kind of navigating your own emotional cascade?
So one of the things that I like to pull out are the gratitude, mm-hmm. and then also positive affirmations. I actually have this app. It's called I Am, mm-hmm. and what it does is it will shoot positive affirmations to your phone throughout the day about many different things. So if you have anxiety, depression, if you want to, body consciousness, anything, you can actually shoot it. And so when I first started it and it would shoot something to my phone, I was like, yeah, right, whatever. Now I'm like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Very powerful. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So just kind of the positive affirmations and also the gratitude are what I definitely jump to.
I love gratitude. I wrote down, so we did this exercise. I just have to tell you about it because I'm just so glad we did. Y'all know the song Ascension by Maxwell, right? Mm-hmm. We made that thing into, because it's about love. Mm-hmm. But who should you love the most? Mm-hmm. Yourself. Right. But we turned that thing into an affirmation about, shouldn't I realize that I'm the highest of the high?
Yes.
Yes. And if you didn't know, girl, I'll tell you. Girl, if you didn't know, I'll tell you. So don't ever wonder. I was like, wow, talk about reframing things.
Right.
For that uplift, for that boost, for that motivation, energy, whatever you want to call it. Just that reframing is powerful.
Yes. Well, Nick, I have one more question for you. So you have...
Oh, we have another question in the chat too.
Oh, go ahead.
It says, you mentioned reflecting. How do you maintain reflecting from triggering anxiety, depression, and hurt? That's a very good question.
Yeah. So when you talk about reflecting, all right, there's not necessarily anything on the other side of that other than looking at how you're feeling. Okay. A lot of times people always want to jump to, well, what do I do? What do I do? The first thing you have to do is recognize what you're feeling, how it's sitting in your body. Okay. I always tell people the first sign that something is going on is your body. So the reflecting is more of this is what I'm feeling. Now, if you are reflecting, you become triggered. Okay. You can ask yourself the question, okay, what happened? At what point did I become triggered? What was I writing about? What was I thinking about? Okay. And kind of whenever you're triggered, you definitely have to ask yourself, okay, what happened? What happened? Because like I said, you definitely want to get to know yourself, your mind, your triggers, so that you can actually be ready on the, to actually deal with those. So when you are triggered, just step back and say, okay, what happened? Breathe. Okay. If you find yourself getting too anxious or just kind of too overwhelmed, go and suck on a lemon. Okay, that's one way to kind of bring yourself down if you're ever becoming really, really overwhelmed, or go hold a piece of ice in your hand. That is going to automatically calm you. Okay, so you can go ground and then come back and say, okay, what happened? So that's what you can do. If you are reflecting, you become triggered. But that's good. Even if you are reflecting, you become triggered, that's good, because that says that you are actually learning something about yourself. That's a learning moment. That's the moment that you can say, okay, this is something here. This is something here that I could use. I know what to do with this. So, but if you, like I said, if you ever become overwhelmed, just kind of step back from it and ground yourself. Okay. You can, do your senses, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 things I see, 4 things I hear, all of those things. And I have their grounding techniques in the book as well. Yeah.
That's so powerful. Like I said, all of these skills, that tool, listen, these tools, these skills will support you, and it's not saying that you won't have a moment, because we all do. But if you have the right tool, you get through that moment a lot faster. I love it. I love that.
And I will say, so one thing about me is I can appreciate people, like, people who can go on YouTube and learn a lot of stuff. I can always appreciate people who do a lot of online learning, but that's not my style. And so when we talk about skills and things of that nature, there are a lot of skills that we hear about, right? But I'm a visual learner. I like to have something in my hand that I can refer to. I created a daily affirmation for myself, and I literally had to print it out and put it up. Even though it's in my phone, I still had to print it and put it up. So sometimes that's helpful for me to have that tangible thing. So I can appreciate that you have those skills laid out and tools laid out in a format that for people like myself who need to visually go to it and read it. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, get away from these phones. Because we do so much on our phones. And if anything can trigger anxiety, social media seemingly can do that. We get on social media so much, and it's so easy to access things that we can lose sight. So I love that this is in a physical, hard bound, like I can touch, feel, flip through the pages, highlight. I have different color pencils, so I like to draw while I'm thinking about these things. That's very helpful for me. I was just going to ask things my therapist says is the publisher here, and you have some other things in the works. So is there anything? What do you expect to come after this? Because I'm guessing you didn't necessarily plan to write a book, but you did. So
what's so interesting, Chrissy, I remember like years and years and years ago, you were like, I see you writing a book. I was like, girl, what you talking about?
I said that, girl, I'll be knowing.
Because we be knowing things.
I was like, okay. I was like, okay, Chris, all right. So actually I have a couple things in the work. So I actually just finished 2 coloring books. So basically they're for kids 5 to 9. And what I'm doing with the coloring books is that I'm teaching skills to them as well. So I have one that's like from A to Z, and actually with each letter I give a coping skill. So, like A would be ask for help, B would be breathe. And so, but it's a coloring book for kids. So I'm trying to do some things for people of all ages. So I have 2 coloring books about feelings, and then of course, some coping skills. I do plan on moving and doing a depression one, like the anxiety one, and as well as a grief one, because those things tend to be, those are other areas that we need to work on that are just kind of like from every day that happens. So there's so many things out there. So they're coming about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I want to applaud you again. So
Kudos.
round of applause. The website is scrolling on the bottom. I went ahead, I ordered my copy while y'all were talking. So I look forward to receiving it in the mail and adding it again to my repertoire, my toolkit, and even to help me professionally, as I coach clients. I have professional clients who are in the workplace or dealing with situations.
Mhm.
Me expanding my my emotional vocabulary, the understanding of this brain and how it works and how all of these things happen to us, and just that alone makes me a better practitioner.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you just get it for yourself to make you a better manager, a better leader, this book can help you, because all the tools and techniques that you have in there, it makes you a better parent, makes you a better friend, makes you a better wife. Like, it's a no-brainer. Go order your copy, please, at the website right there, www.things-my-therapist.com. Get your copy, y'all. That's all I got to say in closing. Sister, what you got to say in closing?
I would just echo everything you said. Kudos to you, Nicole. I know that this was a labor of love for you, and it is something that I know if people just make the investment in themselves, it will be something that they will appreciate deeply, and it will benefit them. So, I mean, thank you for caring enough for people's, like, the work that you do, and caring enough about people's wellness and mental wellness that you would think to create this. Because I loved how you said at the beginning, like myself, I go to therapy, but there's the in-between time. And sometimes in between, I can't really reach my therapist. Like, I can send her an email and she'll email me back, but there's just that in-between time, and something like this would be just very beneficial. So again, from within, folks.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't know what's going on with health, health insurance these days. So if you're in therapy and then you lose your coverage,
this journal is less than a therapy session or less than a copay. And if you, I'm just saying.
Yeah. And you learn, and there are lots of skills in there too. So
Yes.
All right. Well, you all hold the line and let's wave to the folks and say good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you so much.